Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 update by Heerak for November 25th, 2020. It's Thanksgiving Eve or the day before Thanksgiving, and many Americans are flying right now to get to their families or driving or taking a train. Um, a lot of people are going to visit their loved ones for Thanksgiving. There were 1 million people flying in airports on Friday, 1 million people flying on Saturday, 1 million people flying on Sunday. So you can bet far more people are flying today on Wednesday. A lot of people will be driving to get to their loved ones for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, as you know, is a very important holiday for Americans, um, and it is known for having the best food. Uh, Thanksgiving generally has better food than Christmas, even because Thanksgiving focuses on food. You have like 10, 15, 20 pies. You have turkey, you have stuffing, you have different cranberry preparations, different salads, different desserts. Um, some people really look forward to Thanksgiving more than any other holiday because it's a culinary experience like no other. And obviously, Thanksgiving is also synonymous with shopping because Christmas is coming. Christmas is on December 25th. And many people do their Christmas Day shopping um, during the week of Thanksgiving. Black Friday, a lot of stores are having Black Friday specials. I went to Tyson's Corner Center, which is a big mall in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, in Northern Virginia. And the mall is open. There aren't that many people in there when I visited. But they're having a lot of good sales. There are a lot of good Christmas gift items there. And so some of you will be driving out with your families to um, Tyson's Corner Mall to buy some Christmas shopping. And they have food court that's open, and there was sushi um, place which looked really good. And then they had the French crepes and they had falafel, and they had so many great places, and so, mall is, like wide open space. So, just make sure you keep like 6 to 10 feet away from everyone and just, be very careful. But you do have to pick up Christmas gifts, right? And I know when I was at Tyson's Corner, Macy's there had a lot of good Christmas items. And there are like little stores with a lot of interesting Christmas items. And there's several really nice jewelry stores with a lot of discounts. I mean, there's one jewelry place that I went to that they're having discounts this week. So $3,600 engagement rings are being sold for $1,600 right now. So if you have a girlfriend, this is the time to get that engagement ring and propose to her like over Thanksgiving or Christmas or before then. Just think about it, $3,600 ring for 1,600, you're saving like $2,000. They said the sale goes on just this week, so you better get yourself over there, to Tyson's Corner. I forgot the name of the jewelry store, but if you go to my Twitter account, Heerak for Congress, you'll see a photo that I took there at the jewelry store. As you know, I'm not married. I've never been married. I don't have children. Uh, but I'm like, man, maybe I should get the ring now. Resize it later. No, but anyway, yeah. So, my sister said her engagement ring was over $10,000. I don't know much about engagement rings, so I don't know. I guess, I don't have anybody right now to marry. But God sends me somebody. I guess I'll probably consult my sister for for advice. Um, but yeah, $10,000. That seems like a lot for engagement ring. But because most people, I guess, they I don't think that it's been, I don't think they spend $10,000 on engagement ring. But my sister's husband, he's a businessman, and so I guess you know uh, you know I guess you know it's worthwhile to marry a businessman. I guess if you're a woman who wants a big engagement ring, you know what I mean. But yeah, but love. You don't always choose who you fall in love with, but yeah, my sister and her husband are very much in love, and they look really cute together. So I'm glad that they found each other and they got married and had a really nice wedding ceremony at the church where my father was a pastor since our immigration to the United States. For decades, he was a senior pastor there. So it was a special moment for my father to marry my sister and her now husband at that church. We had like all the pastors from Philadelphia, Korean churches come. Some pastors from Virginia and Maryland came for the ceremony. Because my dad has Korean pastor friends everywhere in America. They have a Korean pastors meeting like every so often. In this area in Virginia's 8th district, there are Korean churches. They all meet. It's like everybody knows everybody in Korean community. For instance, there's a prayer meeting for all the Korean churches in Maryland and Virginia. There's Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland, and they were having it like every once a month. And right now because of COVID, it's like interrupted, but everybody knows everybody. And this is like regardless of what denomination, whether you're United Methodist Church, Southern Baptist, Episcopalian, Assemblies of God, Nazarene, all the Korean churches, they come together and pray together. Korean churches tend to be very conservative, whichever denomination they belong to. So yeah, so they have this thing here in Northern Virginia, Washington D.C., and Southern Maryland, where they have these like monthly prayer meetings of all the Korean churches. Obviously not everybody goes there, but it's open to people. And then they have like meetings of the pastors and Christian leaders there. As you know, I created a Back to God committee made up of a lot of Christian pastors from this area, and I'm looking forward to adding a lot of other Christian pastors like Ethiopian Christian pastors, Mongolian Christian pastors, Taiwanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, Filipino Christian pastors, and Latino pastors from Brazil, Argentina. So it's going to grow. Christians are Christians, regardless of what ethnic group or race or background you're in. We all follow the Bible, like Romans 1. I mean, it's in print. You can't rewrite the Bible. God wrote the Bible. So regardless of what race you are, you're all always agreed on what the Bible is saying that you should do. So it's like you can't change the Bible, and it's not like God is dead, right? Whatever God wants, He has written down in the Bible, and we're supposed to follow it. And if God exists, and He does, then He's obviously going to enforce His laws, right? If we don't keep them. And so Christian theologians and also Jewish theologians have said the reason that God destroyed Israel as a nation completely in the Old Testament and exiled the Jews to Babylon. They said up to 80% of the Jewish population were killed at that time. Some figures, like nobody's really sure because records are kind of lost. But the reason that God completely destroyed Israel was that they were supporting like homosexuality and stuff like that, and God just got angry and destroyed the nation. So that's what Jewish theologians and Christian theologians say. When Israel went away from the Bible, God punished them by destroying their nation. It happened again, unfortunately, in the New Testament era. In 70 AD, state of Israel was destroyed, and that time was destroyed for 2,000 years. So Jews did not have a nation for 2,000 years after Israel was destroyed by the Roman Empire in 70 AD. And again, they say, the reason that, well, actually, they say that Jerusalem was destroyed and Israel was destroyed that time, the New Testament, because, Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John accuse Jews of having killed Jesus Christ. So God was just pissed off at Jews for having killed his son, his only begotten son, one and only son. So God just destroyed the nation and didn't let them get back to their nation for 2,000 years. So that's what they said. Um, yeah, so most Christian theologians understand, they read the Gospels, and, you don't have to be a theologian to read Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John, which points the finger at Jews for killing Jesus. You may not like it, but that's what it says. You know, um, the first martyr, Saint Stephen, was killed by the Jews. Jewish religious leaders stoned him to death because he said Jews killed Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's reiterated in decades after Jesus' death. Our first martyr, Saint Stephen, um, was killed by the Jews. Our first Christian martyr was killed by the Jews, not just any Jews, but Jewish religious leaders like priests and Pharisees, like Jewish rabbis, religious leaders killed our first Christian martyr, Saint Stephen. So, it's very much part of our Christian history that cannot be unwritten. And, our Bishop Gregory in DC Archdiocese is going to become a cardinal on Saturday. And obviously, Archbishop Gregory of Washington, D.C., or D.C. Archdiocese, he agrees with the Bible, obviously, that Jews killed Jesus Christ. I mean, he's not going to go away from Bible teaching, right? Because, God exists and God wants Archbishop Gregory to uphold the Bible, teaching that Jews killed Jesus Christ. So, I mean, the moment he deviates from that, obviously God can abandon, Archbishop Gregory. God abandons Pope all the time. As you know, Martin Luther called the Pope the Antichrist, meaning like he is in the pecking order of hell, like, Antichrist. You know. So Martin Luther obviously, and all of us Protestants believe that the Pope during the Martin Luther time went to hell. That's what all the Protestants believe around the world, not all the popes go to hell, but the Pope during Martin Luther's time went to hell. That's something that all the Protestants agree on. Um, I mean, obviously, Protestantism was born because of the belief that the Catholic Church went away from the Bible so much in Martin Luther's time that you needed to separate from that church because it was so corrupt, right? That's what Protestantism is, right? So obviously, 100% of the Protestants believe that the Pope during the time of Martin Luther went to eternal damnation in hell. That's like all the Protestants agree with that, that's why we have Protestantism, So we obviously we Protestants believe that there are popes who went to eternal damnation in hell. You don't go to heaven just because you're a pope. So, like Pope Francis, if he goes away from the Bible, we Protestants believe he will go to hell. And I'm sure not just Protestants, I'm sure there are 1 billion Catholics who also believe that. Obviously Martin Luther was a Catholic when he nailed the 95 Theses, not just a Catholic, he was a priest in the Catholic Church. He was an Augustinian monk, kind of like the Jesuits, but in a different tradition. He was an Augustinian monk, not a Jesuit monk. Jesuits did not exist at the time of Martin Luther. John Calvin was also a Catholic. He was an Augustinian monk as well, priest in the Catholic Church. And they thought that the Pope had gone away from the Bible so much, they decided to oppose the Pope. So, I mean, that could happen in 2021 as well. It's not like, all the Catholics agree with the Pope when Pope goes away from the Bible. You know what I mean? Everybody reads the Bible, and it's there in print. If the Pope goes away from the Bible, you're going to have Catholic Church that was split in half. So obviously, in order to keep the Catholic Church together, the Pope has to follow the Bible, because since the time of Martin Luther, the Bible has been translated, so you can't like lie. Before Martin Luther, when Bible was in Latin, the Pope could lie to the people, and they can't read Latin, right? most of the common folk in Middle Ages, so they just took the word for it. But that doesn't go over well anymore because there's Bibles been translated to over 100 languages. And Gideons, they've worked hard to make that happen. And so yeah, so that's basically what it is. Um, yeah, I mean, it's not like the Pope is not absolute power. Just because you get the Pope to agree with you doesn't mean 1 billion Catholics are going to agree with you. You know what I'm saying? Like there are idiots out there who think like if you just get Pope support, then 1 billion Catholics are going to follow. Catholics are not dumb. You know what I'm saying? They think for themselves. The legitimacy of the Pope exists only insofar as he supports the Bible. The Pope is not God. The Pope is not our king. The Pope is a servant, right? The vicar of Christ on earth. But if he betrays Jesus, vicar of Christ, if he betrays Christ by going against the Bible, then all of the archbishops, cardinals, bishops, laity, Catholic, faithful, they will disagree with him. It's just simple as that. I mean, Reformation happened because there are Catholics who said the Pope is going away from the Bible, right? Reformation was started by Catholics. It wasn't started by non-Catholics. Martin Luther was a card-carrying Catholic priest. So was John Calvin. And everybody in the Reformation, the leaders, they were all Catholics. You know, it's not like Protestantism came out of somewhere else. They were a faithful part of the Catholic Church. It's like that. In the Christian tradition, we follow the Bible. And obviously, we call the Pope the vicar of Christ because we expect the Pope to follow what's in the Bible as well. Not just the Pope, but like Archbishop Gregory, we expect him to follow the Bible. Bishop Burbridge in Arlington County diocese, obviously, and he has to follow the Bible. You know what I mean? Your legitimacy as a priest or bishop or archbishop or cardinal exists insofar as you follow the Bible, right? Because you represent the Bible. If you go away from the Bible, you're going to lose your legitimacy. You're going to lose your faithful, right? And that's been happening in mainline denominations like Episcopalian Church, Presbyterian Church USA, United Methodist Church. These denominations have lost over 10 million, 20 million members because they started going liberal. And so all of them left the church and joined like conservative evangelical churches like Southern Baptist Convention or PCA Presbyterian Church in America or Orthodox Presbyterian Church or Church of the Nazarene, Seventh-day Adventist Church. They joined very conservative churches because, laity don't want to go to church to hear like gay marriage is okay, right? I mean, they have better things to do. They go to church and hear like things that clash with Romans 1 or the Bible. You see what I'm saying? So they abandon that church and go to a more conservative church that actually follows the Bible. So that's how it is, I mean, evangelicalism in America grew to over 100 million because they all left liberal churches and joined the evangelical movement. It's not like, it's not like they started out as evangelicals, nobody wants to go to church and listen to preaching that disagrees with the Bible. You see what I'm saying? They have better things to do with their life. Politicians don't always understand that. They think like if you just get religious leaders to agree with them, then like they could change the church. I mean, church is not church of politicians, right? Church is not church of pastors. It's called Church of Jesus Christ because Jesus Christ is the head of the church. It doesn't matter what the Pope says. It doesn't matter what the head of the Church of England says. It doesn't matter what the head of the Presbyterian Church says. It doesn't matter what Franklin Graham says or Tim Keller says or John MacArthur says or Joe Osteen says or John Piper says. If they go away from the Bible, it doesn't matter, right? Because people don't worship John Piper. People don't worship John MacArthur. They worship Jesus. They don't follow the words of John MacArthur. They follow the words of the Holy Bible. You see what I'm saying? So It doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter what position you hold in the church. You could be the Pope, but you could be labeled as an antichrist or vicar of Satan if you deviate from Romans chapter 1 or the Holy Bible. I mean, and it will stick. Why do you think Reformation was successful? Because everyday ordinary people read the Bible and they realized the Pope had gone so far away from the Bible that the label of Antichrist stuck against the Pope. I mean, just type in Martin Luther Antichrist, Pope as Antichrist. You can read all about it. If you can Google anything these days. And it's like that in 2021 America. Catholicism can flip, and Catholic Church can lose like 30 million members in less than a year if they go away from the Bible. I mean, it's happened to mainline Protestant denominations. It will happen to the Catholic Church as well if they go away from the Bible. Because nobody wants to go to church and sit down and listen to a bunch of blabbering by priests that goes against Romans 1 or the Holy Bible. You know what I mean? That people have better things to do with their life. They're not at church to like listen to blathering preachers. They're to worship Jesus. You know, and politicians don't understand that. Politicians think like, oh, we could just get the Jesuits to agree with us, or the Pope to agree with us, and then everybody's going to agree with. No, and people are not robots. They're not slaves. They're rational individuals who think. I mean, so John Calvin was a Catholic, Martin Luther was a Catholic, and both of them loved the Catholic Church. They didn't want to leave, but they're like, the Pope has gone so far away from the Bible, and he's not repenting. He's not coming back to the Bible. So they're like, we have to leave. What can we do? So you could have 30 million Catholics leaving the Catholic Church in America if Catholic Church goes away from the Bible, like Romans 1. I mean, that's a guarantee. It's happened to mainline Protestant denominations. That's why evangelicalism is so big, because everybody will left the main line. It's like if 30 million Catholics leave the Catholic Church, they'll join evangelical Protestant churches. And it's already happening all over America. A lot of Catholics are leaving Catholic Church and joining Protestant church because, they believe gay marriage is wrong. Romans chapter 1, they read it. And some Catholic churches, are a little bit liberal. You have these homosexual priests, closet priests, who like try to you know, defend their own gay identity. So a lot of Catholics left the Catholic Church because they were sick of pro-gay stuff, and then they joined the Protestant Church that's heavily anti-gay. So that's been happening in America for last 20 years. I mean, it's no surprise. I mean, just go to John MacArthur's church in LA. He bashes Catholics in his official sermons for like 20 weeks. He had a series of sermons against the Catholics. So every sermon is against the Catholics and why Catholics are wrong. And he preached it for like 20 weeks. Yeah, that's so many Catholics in California became like Protestants because of him, Because he can, sometimes Catholics make it easy for John MacArthur. If they are like loosey-goosey with like Romans chapter 1, you can use that to like recruit all the Catholics away from, because nobody who wants to follow the Bible wants to go against Romans chapter 1. Do you know what I mean? They have better things to do with their life. They could be fishing on Sunday. They don't have to be at church. You know, so people who go to church want like something that is like in agreement with the Bible, right? I mean, it makes sense to you, right? Nobody wants to waste their life, waste their time. Time is money. That's why evangelical churches have grown. And when evangelical churches become liberal, Christians leave those and then go to another evangelical church which is more conservative. So that's happening all over Virginia as well. It's happening in all over Maryland. It's happening all over DC. Um, you know, Democrats lost so many seats in U.S. House of Representatives because people don't like liberalism in the Democratic Party. They disagree with pro-gay positions. They disagree with pro-abortion positions. So Democrats are leading in the millions right now. That's why U.S. House of Representatives lost so many Democratic seats. And that's why Senate is like holding on to Republican power, because Americans are becoming very, very conservative right now. A lot of Democrats are becoming conservative. Um, you know, if President Trump bashed homosexuality, he would have probably gotten a lot of votes. Because that's where Americans are. Americans are, they don't like homosexuality because Romans chapter 1 in the New Testament bashes homosexuality. I mean, New Testament is anti-gay. I mean, everybody knows this. Ask anybody. Romans chapter 1, just read it out loud. How you're telling me that that's pro-gay? You know what I'm saying? You have to be an idiot to think like New Testament is pro-gay. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, geez, just like ignore the obvious. Why don't you? You know what I mean? 90% of Americans, are very conservative. Even like even Democrats, even liberal progressive Democrats, majority of them are very socially conservative. Um, yeah, I mean, they could flip flop, in matter of days, if just shown the right argumentation, rationality for why they should change their position. So, people think like people are static, like you believe this and you're not going to change. It's not like that. People are not static. People change all the time. You know, people change their position on things all the time. Even given 24-hour period, or even a given workday, 8 hours of workday, people change their positions all the time, based on what they observe. Five senses: what they see, what they hear, what they smell, what they taste. They could change their opinion all the time, um, and also based on what they think. Nothing is static in life. I mean, Germany went from being the most pro-Jewish country in the world in 1800s to killing all the Jews in the world, in their world, in Europe, not just in Germany, all over Europe. And they made it their primary mission in matter of decades, even in less than one generation. In less than 20 years, they went from like being very pro-Jewish to very anti-Jewish, in 20 years, less than 20 years. This could happen in America. I'm 100% sure Holocaust can happen in America, because it happened in Germany. Germany was far more pro-Jewish than America is now, or America ever was. Germany is, I mean, you ask any expert in Jewish studies. Germany was the most aggressively pro-Jewish nation in the history of humankind, in the 1800s. And then Germany killed Jews in 1900s, all of them. So how did it become like that? Obviously, that's what historians study. But so, maybe another time, we could talk more about that. But yeah, I'm 100% sure 100% of Jews in America can be systematically killed, by officially passed laws, with bipartisan support, Democratic Party and the Republican Party, because that's what happened in Germany. That can definitely happen in America. Um, you have to be a historian to understand what is possible in history and what's not possible in history. Uh, you know, um, yeah. So if you think that Holocaust that cannot happen in America, obviously you're not a historian. You don't know what's possible in history. I'm an expert in history, so I'm 100% sure it can happen in America. Um, just like it happened in Germany. Germany was far more pro-Jewish than America is now, or ever was. Yeah, so history doesn't lie because history already happened. I mean, unless you're going to deny that there was Holocaust, you have to accept the fact that Holocaust happened in a country that was aggressively pro-Jewish a few decades before, right? I mean, you could deny the Holocaust and say Holocaust did not happen. It's a lie. Germany was always pro-Jewish and it has always been pro-Jewish. But that would be inaccurate, right? Because we have historical records. We know what happened. Holocaust did happen. Do you see what I'm saying? Like people think like certain things can happen in history. Yes, they can happen in history. If Julius Caesar was stabbed and killed by his best friends, people whose life he 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 trusted himself 100% with his life, with these people who stabbed him to death inside the Senate. These things happen in history. Who you trust 100%, like who Joe Biden trusts 100%, maybe the one who betrays him. These things happen. You just don't never know what's possible in history. until it happens, but it's definitely possible. One thing you do know is it's possible. Whether it happens or not is based on a series of historical events, decisions individuals make, social, economic, political environments, religious trends, individual, zeitgeist, spirit of the age, which you can't really always quantify. These things all come together and history happens, and you can't always control what's going to happen in history. You never know. Anything could happen in history. Yeah, your best friend can betray you. Person you trust 100% can betray you, like what happened with Julius Caesar. He was betrayed by his best friends that he trusted 100% with his life. And it's like that. You could appoint whoever you trust to the positions because you think that they'll be loyal to you, and they may be the one who end your career and your life. And that's what happened to Julius Caesar in history. And we're talking about history here, obviously, but that's what happens in history, right? You can never predict it. But one thing we can predict is that there's going to be a lot of death from COVID. And that's something that we're 100% guaranteeing because we see the death trends. We know there are going to be a lot of death from COVID. Right now, you have around 2,300 people dying from COVID every day. I'm predicting that the number will pass 5,000 before the end of November. End of November. Before the end of November, we're going to have 5,000 deaths per day in America. That's what I'm predicting. That this death number will double. Uh, because, look at this. We have what, 1,000, nearly 2,000 cases every day. Uh, and flu season is getting worse and worse. So eventually, that's going to end up with hospitalization, which is happening right now. We have a record hospitalization in America. Eventually, these hospitalizations are going to end in death. So I'm basing it on all data that we have available. It's not like I'm saying something that healthcare experts don't think is possible. It's possible. 5,000 people can die per day by end of November. It is possible. Um, I'm saying that it will happen before end of November, and I think I'm accurate to say that. And I'm sure Dr. Fauci will come to my position. So and so Senator, Dr. Redfield of Center, head of the Center for Disease Control, I'm sure will come to my position. Dr. Hahn of FDA, Food and Drug Administration, I'm sure will come to my position. I'm sure Dr. Gottlieb, former head of FDA, will come to my position. And I'm sure, Dr. Sanjay Gupta will eventually come to my position. I'm sure Bill Gates, he may already agree with me. I haven't seen his latest interviews, but he may already agree with me. Because, I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. Generally, like what I say become reality. My predictions are highly accurate because I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. Because I integrate all of these expertise in my analysis. And so I tend to be highly accurate in my predictions. Um, I mean, I told you that we're going to have far more death in this flu season than last flu season. And it's coming true, right? We already have 2,000, around 300 people dying every day, right? 2 days in a row. So you can see 5,000 people dying in the near future, right? I mean, that's it's coming. I'm predicting that anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000 people in America will die every day in December. I think you agree with me that that can happen. I think we'll definitely pass 10,000 deaths per day in December, but there's also a possibility that we can pass 30,000 deaths per day in December. But definitely 10,000 deaths per day, I'm sure we'll pass. And I'm predicting that 10,000 nurses will die by Christmas 2020. Because if you have 10,000 people dying every day, right, that's 300,000 deaths if it starts on December 1st. That's 300,000 people dead in 1 month of December. So out of that, 10,000 nurses dying. That makes sense because who's taking care of these COVID-19 patients? The nurses. So it makes sense, right? So I'm predicting that 12 nurses will die in every hospital in DC area. So Virginia Hospital will have minimum 12 nurses die. Innova Fairfax Hospital will have at least 12 nurses die. Innova Alexandria Hospital will have at least 12 nurses die. MedStar, Georgetown University Hospital will have at least 12 nurses die. Children's National Hospital will have at least 12 nurses die. George Washington University Hospital will have at least 20 nurses die, 12 nurses die. And Sibley Hospital in Washington, D.C. will have at least 12 nurses die. And Suburban Hospital in Maryland will have at least 12 nurses die. Adventist Health Hospital in Shady Grove will have at least 12 nurses die. All the hospitals in this area will have at least 12 nurses die by Christmas. I think I'm being rational and accurate with data here, because we gotta base our decisions on data, right? It's data-driven decisions. So when we have all these COVID-19 cases, hospitalization spiking, death rates going up, over civilian population, we use that data and we drive our decisions or analysis based on data. So it's data-driven analysis, data-driven decisions. Um, yeah, if you say no nurses will die, obviously you're an idiot. Of course, nurses are going to die, and obviously estimating minimum 12 nurses dying by Christmas in every hospital is a rational decision. It's highly likely analysis or prediction. Um, and I don't think any rational scientist or healthcare expert would disagree with that that's possible. As Dr. Hahn, as Dr. Redfield, as Dr. Fauci, if you want to double check, I'm sure they're going to say it's possible. I'm like, this is a killer virus. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. For God's sake, 2,252 people have died in the last 24 hours in America. But you don't think it's possible that 12 nurses will die in the hospital where COVID-19 patients are being treated? Are you kidding me? They're like, nurses are not God. They could get infected with COVID and die. They're human beings. They're mortal. Um, and I'm sure 100% of the nurses who work in hospitals know that they can die. And you should make out a will if you have children. And you should definitely prepare for a guardianship of your children in case you die and your husband dies. If you're a single mother, if you die, obviously your children are going to be orphans. You should expect your mother and father to die so they won't have grandparents who can raise them. You need to find guardians for them, and you need to find like first choice guardian, second choice guardian, third choice guardian, because it's possible for the guardians to die too. We're in a severe emergency circumstance where whole families can die. So, you know, uh, you need to prepare for that possibility. You may not die. I'm predicting that anywhere from 3 million Americans, 30 million Americans will die. But even if 30 million Americans die, that's only 10% of the population. 90% of Americans will not die by June. So, mostly in cities, people are going to die in cities. So you may have like city like an African American city. You could have up to like 50% of African Americans in a city die. Like let's say Philadelphia has like 1 million Black people living in the city. It's possible that 400 Black people die in Philadelphia by June. That's possible. Obviously, I don't want that to happen. I like Black people. I grew up in a Black neighborhood in Philadelphia, in Logan neighborhood of Philadelphia. So, my first best friend, American best friend, is Black. I immigrated into Black neighborhood, and we were the only non-Black people in the street, the whole street. So, you know, um, I know Black people because I grew up in a Black neighborhood, in Philadelphia. So I don't want them to die. But I'm saying it is possible, like cities are where the most death will occur because everybody lives very close to each other. is densely populated. That's how coronavirus spreads. And medical services are not very good in inner city areas, like in black neighborhoods. So this combination could add up to having having a lot of black people die in every city, um, and that's a tragedy. And I'm very sad about that because I know that's going to come. And there are newspapers, media that reports on how blacks and Hispanics in cities are dying at larger rate than whites in the suburb. I mean, it makes sense because in the suburb, they live in a single home and they're spread out. They have a front yard and a backyard, you know. So it's not densely populated, so it's hard to get COVID from your neighbor. Like your neighbor may die of COVID, but as long as you don't talk to that neighbor, you're not gonna get it, right? But it's a little bit difficult to like stay away from your neighbors in the city because everybody lives very close to each other. And that's why, like in some cities, you may have up to 40% die of COVID-19 by June. Um, hopefully that won't happen in Philadelphia, but it could. You know, I don't think anybody should be surprised if that happens. Because you could have 50% die in a city from a pandemic. That could definitely happen. We have 6 more months to go. So we have November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, more than 6 months to go. So, yeah, you could definitely have 50% of the city die. Think about it. 6 months is a long time. A lot can change in 6 months. Um, and, nurses are going to be the ones treating them, especially in urban areas like DC, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. So a lot of nurses are going to die. So I'm going to do a cheer for my fellow clinical nurse leader graduates from Georgetown University, where I did my 2 years of master's training with them. We graduated, 25 of us graduated on August 24, 2020. So I'm going to do a cheer for them. CNL 2020, yay, Georgetown University, clinical nurse leader master's program. We did it. We graduated on August 24th, 2020. Some of us may die before Christmas 2020, but they can't take away the fact that we graduated on August 24th, 2020. Yay! We have to be realistic about this. Obviously, I love you guys. I don't want any of you to die, but you're gonna die. Some of you are gonna die. I mean, and some of us will die. I'm hoping I won't die, but who knows? Nobody knows what's gonna happen. Only God knows. God knows everything. Um, but I expect like 5 people out of 25 to die by Christmas 2020. If all 25 are working in hospitals right now, some are staying out because they don't want to die from COVID. Um, so I mean, I'm presupposing that 25 will be working in a hospital, but obviously, if less than 25 work in a hospital, the death may decrease proportionally. But I'm saying around 20% would die. 20% of us who are working in hospitals will die. Um, I think it's not just with my cohort at Georgetown. It will be with like George Mason University cohort who graduated in 2020, George Washington cohort who graduated in 2020. I think it'll be like 20% will die in every cohort. New nurses working by Christmas. Yeah, so let's see. That's my prediction. But let's see. Let's see. We'll see. Things change day to day. I'm saying that we're gonna have 5,000 deaths by end of November. You know, and 10,000 deaths by like December, right? Let's see if that happens. I think that's definitely possible. I think most healthcare experts know that that's possible. Um, I'm happy to share some happy moments uh, of tourism, which is no longer possible because of COVID for most part. As you know, I was a Raoul Wallenberg Scholar for Human Rights and Democracy, working on the Israeli and Palestinian conflict in Israel. So for 1 year, uh, state of Israel, basically, or Hebrew University of Jerusalem. They paid us to study the Arab-Jewish conflict and how human rights and democracy fit into that. So I was chosen uh, to be one of the 10 Raoul Wallenberg scholars or Raoul Wallenberg fellows from a nationwide competition in America. So I was a PhD student at the time at UCLA, so I represented UCLA. And you see Corey Velt, who's the director of Russian Studies at George Washington University, who used to be at Georgetown, assistant director of Russian Studies at the School of Foreign Service. Um, and Corey Velt there, it was his birthday, so we're celebrating his birthday. You see, and Hillary Coyne is sitting across from Corey Velt. Hillary Coyne is adjunct professor at Georgetown University Law School. She also graduated from Georgetown University Law School with JD after graduating from Harvard. So she just graduated from Harvard. She was like 21 or 22 there in the photo. She's really pretty, as you can see. And she represented Harvard as a Raoul Wallenberg Scholar. Corey Bell was represented Stanford University as a Raoul Wallenberg Scholar. She had just graduated from Stanford. And underneath that, you see Adina Schulzen, who graduated from Barnard College at Columbia University. So she represented Columbia or Barnard College. And you see Corey Velt and Adina Schulzen dancing together. Adina went on to do her PhD at New York University in Jewish Studies. Um, and I was like, they look like such a cute couple, right? Adina Schulzen and Corey Velt. I was like hoping they would hook up and get married, but I guess they never did. But I thought there was chemistry there, but Adina Schulzen is Modern Orthodox, so she's observant. And Corey is like conservative Jew or Reform Jew, so he doesn't really observe Jewish traditions. Although Jewish identity is very important to him, so that may be the reason why. Because Adina wanted to continue being religious, and Corey wanted to continue being secular. Or like I mean, he goes to synagogue, but and fast on Yom Kippur, but he didn't want to be really religious. So generally, when that happens, you don't have a deal, right? Because like if Corey wants to eat bacon or have a lobster, and what's going to happen because Adina is, you know, Shomer Kashrut, she doesn't eat anything non-kosher. So you see, there's a problem there. So marriage is not just about love, right? Love isn't everything. If love were everything, then nobody would get divorced, right? Because everybody marries when they're in love, but love isn't everything, right? Divorce happens, because love is not everything. Love is not enough. Um, and so, Corey and Adina, I thought they liked each other, and I think they did. But at the end of the day, they're very intelligent, and they're thinking like, if we hook up, we'll get married. What do we do, right? So if Adina wants to continue being kosher, there's a problem. You can't really marry somebody who's secular or not mostly non-observant. You see what I'm saying? So I mean, it makes logical sense why they didn't hook up. And Adina ended up marrying somebody who's very religious, and she's very happy and she's wonderful children. And so that's just the way life works. Love is not everything. And you see the Raoul Wallenberg group there. We're not really taking a group photo. Everybody was hot. We're walking around in Jordan. But I'm like, yeah, let's get a semi-group photo. We don't have to line everybody up in a line, but so you see Adina Schulzen there, you see Corey Vell, you see Amos and Leah, they were the Israeli Raoul Wallenberg scholars to the right. And then John Bartlett, he ran for US Congress in Passaic County, New Jersey. So he has aspirations to be United States president. He went to Harvard Law School. Um, and he works as a law firm. He's a brilliant guy. He was the editor in chief of Brown Daily Herald, the student newspaper at Brown. And he had just graduated from Brown University. He was like 21, 22 at the time. All of them were, Dina Schuster just graduated from Barnard. So they were all like 21, 22 at that time. And so we're in Jordan and they're touring. And you see behind me Petra. It's a beautiful place. Um, so Petra's in Jordan too. Next to this video, you see Yael. She was kind of like the, like our protector. She worked for Israeli Defense Forces and the Special Forces. So she could probably kill you in like 1,000 different ways in a matter of minutes. So she's like our bodyguard. Um, yeah, so she's fully loaded. Yeah, like, it's good to have people protecting us. No, I mean she was an advisor. She was more like an advisor, but she was in the special forces, and she didn't say her role is protect our lives, but I mean, you know, obviously, we're 10 of us are like the brains in America, chosen a nationwide competition for this Raoul Nobel Scholar for Human Rights and Democracy. So we're like future leaders of America in human rights. So obviously we're going to be protected. Um, in an elite fellowship program. And obviously, it shows, right? Hillary Clinton is professor at Georgetown Law School, adjunct professor. Tori Bell is director of Russian studies. That's Congress or Senate calls in when they need advice on how to defeat Russia. You know, so these are all leading experts. John Bartlett may become president of the United States someday. So obviously they want to try to protect our lives. And I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century, a leading expert of Jews. Um, I mean, if you see next to the cross, John Bartlett is taking photo with Jared Genzer. Jared wants to be the president of the United States as well. He's Jewish. John Bartlett is an Anglican or Episcopalian. He goes to an Episcopalian church in New Jersey. I worshiped with him and Kiati, his wife, and their child once. It's a nice church. And so, Jared Genzer and John Bartlett, the two aspiring U.S. presidents, um, were, two aspiring to be U.S. presidents, to photo together there. Yeah, I mean, all of us are playing leadership roles in society. I'm the only Republican; they're all Democrats. You know what I mean? Um, Dina may be Republican, but I thought she was Democrat, but who knows? She is Marvin Orthodox, kind of like Jerry Kushner. Um, although Jared Christian, I think it was Democrat, right? He became Republican after his father-in-law was elected. Um, at least that's my understanding. Um, yeah, so right now we have 262,132 deaths in the United States, 12,769,915 cases so far. And as you can see, COVID-19 is airborne. So you can get it just by being in an elevator, and if somebody who has COVID-19 coughs, even if you're wearing a mask, you get it. Unless if you have an N95 mask. And obviously you have to wear it properly. If you're not wearing it properly, you can still get it even if you're wearing an N95 mask. Right now, N95 mask is probably, the best. I mean, there is an N99 mask. You have a 99% chance of blacking out like COVID. I mean, there's always 1% chance it will get through. But yeah, but N95 mask, you have 95% chance of blocking out COVID if you're wearing the mask properly. Um, yes, N95 mask is the way to go. I mean, obviously, there's still 5% chance you could get it. Um, yeah, there's nothing guaranteed in life, unfortunately. So I thought, we'll, discuss top five nations in Middle East. And that's why I'm kind of taking a day off from, Bachelor in Poland. I've been kind of showcasing my bachelorettes. I'm the bachelor in Poland. I went to Poland in 2019. It's like a year ago. And did like a, bachelor in Poland, like dating over 15 women in a period of, less than like 2 weeks. Um, and I was in the process of narrowing them down, but we had COVID, so but at least you can see the initial episode, or initial the first stage of the elimination process. Um, yeah, so I'll probably continue tomorrow with other bachelorettes from there. So tune in tomorrow for Bachelor in Poland. But today I'm taking a break. One because it's Eve of Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is a special holiday when you reminisce about the past. You have Thanksgiving with dinner with your friends and family. So I thought, well, why don't I reminisce about my fellow Ralph Wallenberg scholars? There are 10 of us. So it's a small elite group, um, bound forever by 1 year experience in Israel. Hi, Hillary. Hillary Coin is now Hillary Coin Grill. Hey, Corey. Hey, Adina. Hey, John. Hey, Jared. Hey, Leah and Amos. Hi, yeah, I mean, there are others there, who's not on the photo. But yeah, I mean, everybody's playing a leadership role in their own capacity right now. Highly influential, highly powerful. Yeah, life is like that. When you get like uh, brainiacs who have leadership, 10 of them together, you like have a representation of serious, important leaders in society, or what they're going to become later, you know. Yeah, so number one right now in Middle East is Iran, 894,385. It's funny because Corey Veld is director of Russian studies at George Washington University. That's like less than 5 miles from here, right? So I may treat him, if he comes to, Virginia Hospital Center, I may end up being his nurse. Same with Hillary Coin. Hey, Hillary, you know, uh, Hillary may, if she comes to Virginia Hospital Center to be treated, I may be her nurse, I mean, because they live in DC area, right? Jared, he lives in DC area too, so his family's in Maryland, like, I think in Montgomery County. So, yeah, everybody's everywhere. Everybody knows everybody. The world is very small. I'm sure, like CEOs at Virginia Hospital Center, Fairfax, CFO, CNO, CNO. I'm sure they run in similar sorts of circles. It's like that. I mean, I meet important people all the time. you know. Uh, I mean, when you're a leader, I mean, nothing phases me. When you're like one of the important leaders, other important leaders don't really impress you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, nobody really impresses me. And if I meet a pope, I wouldn't lose sleep over it. It's nothing new. I'm one of the major leaders, experts in theology. I'm sure the pope wants to meet me. You know what I mean? The pope probably wants to meet me more than I want to meet the pope. So I'm sure the Pope Francis will like lose sleep if we were to meet, because it would be such an honor for him. Um, because I'm a leading expert of Jews in the world. So my research on Jews informs and guides policies as well as discourse on Jews around the world, not only in academia, but in churches, church policies, theological decisions, practical treatment of Jews by Christians. These are directly impacted by what I say and what I do. That's what being an expert is. People follow your guidance. Man, this is nice. I'm sure Christians in Virginia's 8th District follow my guidance on Jews. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about Democrats here, Christians are Christians, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. We are one. you know, I mean, just keeping an intergroup conflict, solidify my power base. You know what I'm saying? It's like dream come true if like Jews attack me. You know what I mean? I solidify my unity, my power within the Christian, diverse Christian groups. I can unify it with an interreligious conflict. These are things that solidify power when people from different groups attack you. You know what I mean? Please attack me. Please attack me so I can solidify my power. Because there are like different Christian groups, right? But it's always us versus them that unifies people who disagree. It's kind of like, you may hate your brother, but at the end of the day, you'll most likely unify with your brother and your other siblings against others, even your friends who attacks you, your family. It's just the way people are. I'm a historian, so I understand what it means to be in an us versus them conflict. At the end of the day, your Christian friends will abandon you if you're Jewish, if they're us versus them conflict between Christians and Jews. That's like 99.9% guaranteed. You know, um, that's why we call it us versus them conflict. Yeah, and as you know, I'm an expert of group identity and individual identity. Um, I've been researching that for decades, so I know how identity politics work. Right, Nancy Pelosi? Hi, Nancy. Nancy calls herself Christian. I'm sure she'll abandon every one of her Jewish friends if there's a Jewish versus Christian conflict. I'm like 99% sure. Nancy Pelosi will turn her back on the Jews and stab them in the back if there's a us versus them conflict between Christians and Jews. I'm like 99% sure. Because that's what happens in history. It's like math. 2 plus 2 is 4, right? It's a us versus them conflict. It's like guaranteed. So please attack me, please. People attack me and I grow in power. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I could tell you this because, even if I tell you this, it will still happen. You can't block it. You know what I'm saying? That's the great thing about historical force, historical prejudices. They never die. I could kind of give you my game plan away. It doesn't matter. You can't prevent it. Yeah, you know, you're gonna lose sleep trying to prevent it, but you can't. That's the great thing about this. You cannot stop a historical force. That's why I tell you, my game plan. I tell you exactly what I'm doing. Um, that's why it's more fun. Yeah, I don't like surprises. I'm sure you don't like surprises. So we lay it on the line and you do what you want to do and the outcomes that I predicted will come true. You know what I'm saying? Life is good. La dolce vita. La dolce vita. Life is good. Life is beautiful. Did you see that movie, Life is Beautiful? Or, like now that we have a Christmas season coming, It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. You have to see that. It's a great, great movie. I love that movie. It's a Wonderful Life. It's in black and white, but I think you could order a color version, from what I understand. Oh, Jimmy Stewart is amazing in that movie. Yeah, and it's a beautiful love story too. Ah, yeah, it's a wonderful life. Life is wonderful. I love life. I love being a Christian in a Christian nation. I love me. What can I say? Oh, I'm happy as a clam. Um, yeah, but anyway, let's go to the top five. I'll continue with it. So Iran is number one with 46,207 deaths, 5% death rate. That's going to grow, obviously. Iraq is number two with 542,187 cases, 12,086 deaths, 2% death rate. Number three is Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia death rate is kind of going up, which concerns Saudi Arabia. 356,067 cases, 5,825 deaths. Man, wouldn't it be sad if like 500,000 Black people died in Philadelphia from COVID by June? That would be so tragic. Can you imagine what would happen if 50% of Blacks die in every Black city? Like in every city? That could happen. Because we have like 6 months left, right? Right now is November, December, January, February, March, April. Well, more than 6 months, May, June. And I'm predicting that no vaccine will work because there's just too many strains of COVID-19 and it's like mixing everywhere because Americans travel a lot, um, especially in cities. And they're constantly mutating. So none of the vaccines will work. So if you get the vaccine, you'll still die, get COVID and die. So that's, what's going to happen. And so, certainly like black city like Chicago or Philadelphia. I mean, it's not all black, obviously. There's like 1 million Irish and 1 million black in like city of Philadelphia. Um, so yeah, I guess half 50% of Irish people could die too. You know, I mean, it's theoretically possible. If you're in the city, you could die. Whether you're black, Hispanic, Irish, or Italian, or Korean, or Vietnamese, or Filipino. Yeah, if you're in the city, it's very dangerous. And most minorities live in the city, right? Most white people live in suburb, and that's why we call the flight of the whites to the suburbs, or the suburban flight. And that's why whites are not dying as much. It's not that they're a superior race to us, people of color. It's just they're living in houses that are single homes that are wide and spread apart. So it's hard to get infected. But in the city, it's like everybody's living in a crowded area. So it's easier to get infected. Yeah, so nice. This Arabic music is nice. You can like dance to, belly dance too. Like, Adina Schulson and Corey Rowland in that photo dancing to it. I mean, they were so cute together when they're dancing away. You remember that, Hillary? I mean, I'm sure Hillary's watching this show, Corey's watching this show, Dina's watching this show, everybody watches this show. So I'm sure Adina and Corey remember that dance. We were like hoping that they would have come, because we thought that, like those of us that were Oliver, it would have been nice to have like two people in the same program hook up and get married. It's kind of like somebody in a cohort hooking up and getting married. Like, me hooking up at Georgetown University master's program and clinical nurse leader and marrying one of my cohort members. And it's like, that's like the best thing to happen to a cohort, when you have a like love story. But it didn't happen, but what can you say? Um, yeah. But anyway, yeah, so Saudi Arabia has 5,825 deaths. Israel's death rate is going up. You see, it's 0.9% now. It used to be 0.8%. So Israel is seeing a spike in death. So Israel has 331,915, 2,826 deaths. And Jordan has entered top five, beating out United Emirates and beating out Qatar, who are like in fifth place before, kind of fighting for fifth place. So Jordan is next to Israel. And Jordan has 198,021 cases and 2,442 deaths, so 1% death rate. Yeah, so it's getting worse in Middle East, but obviously compared to America, I mean, they're living in like COVID-free zone almost, compared to America. I mean, there are Middle Eastern countries where no one's dying every day, so they have like 100% economic productivity. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Um, you know, I thought, it's not a bad idea to talk about Thanksgiving since we're one day away from Thanksgiving. So the title for today is COVID-19 USA, 10,000 deaths per day coming, and, all the articles kind of relate to Thanksgiving, uh, although it's not in the title. First article says potential COVID-19 surge following Thanksgiving could cause humanitarian crisis, experts warn. So that's humanitarian crisis in the United States of America, right? Um, well, that sounds like a funeral dirge, doesn't it? Oh, it's like eerie music. How many people do you think will die before Christmas? Yeah, I mean, I'm predicting 10,000 nurses will die before Christmas. At least 12 nurses will die in every hospital. In every hospital. I hope no nurses that I know die at Virginia Hospital Center. I mean, I hope no nurses die, but I mean, I'm not going to live in a fake world. I know nurses will die at Virginia Hospital Center, just like nurses will die at Innova Fairfax Hospital, Innova Alexandria Hospital. Nurses will die. That's like 100% guaranteed. I'm just hoping that nurses that I know won't die, because it'll be far more sad if nurses I know die. But it can happen. Right now, nurses who are dying in large numbers are Filipinos. Like they say, out of all the nurses, one fourth or one third of the nurses who are dying in America are Filipinos. Can you believe that? They're trying to find out why that's the case. Yeah. But yeah, apparently out of 100 nurses who are dying, I mean obviously there are more than 100 nurses, but let's say you take 100 nurses who are dying, 25 to 33 of them are going to be Filipinos. Is that strange? Yeah, but that's what they say. Majority of the nurses are white, just to give you a reference. So yeah, so this article, the important quote from this article is uh, as Americans prepare for what will likely be an untraditional Thanksgiving, health experts and state officials are pleading with the public to heed their warning to not travel and to avoid large gatherings and mixing of households as countries try to get a hold of what experts call an uncontrolled spread of coronavirus. Yes. The important takeaway from that is right now, COVID-19 is uncontrolled in America. This is why I'm predicting that there will be 3 million Americans will be dead by June 2021, but 3 million to 30 million. So I think it'll be more like 30 million. Because all you need is 60,000 deaths in every state to have 3 million deaths. But like in states like New York, you're going to have like 1 million deaths by June. Like states like Pennsylvania, and then look at the numbers, you could probably have 1 million deaths or more. New Jersey as well. So that's like 3 million already there. So I think it'll be more like 30 million people will die before June. And we have 6 more months to go. Look at this. We're in November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, more than 6 months. So some people are like, hey, I'm going to die anyway. I'd rather have my Thanksgiving so I don't die in vain. Can you imagine how sucky it would be if you like locked yourself in and didn't see your family for Thanksgiving and then you end up dying before Christmas? I mean, you like isolated yourself and then you die. That's why a lot of Americans are flying and driving and traveling to see their family because they don't want to be like a sucker loser who dies alone, never having seen their family members during Christmas. So you will see a lot of people driving tonight, a lot of people driving tomorrow to see their family members because they know that they could die and they don't want to die like not having seen their family members. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are, I mean, I don't intend to die, but some people know that they could die and they don't want to die without having seen their family. That's why a lot of people are going home for Thanksgiving. It makes logical sense because people are emotional beings. People are relational beings. They value relationships. And since they know that death is coming, they want to see their family. So you see, one of the things the Center for Disease Control doesn't understand about human beings is you tell them that death is coming and COVID-19 is uncontrolled. Center for Disease Control, these bureaucrats think like people will not go and see their family. What they don't understand is human beings are more emotional and more relational than anything. They're more emotional than rational. Human beings are more relational than rational, right? They rather do things because of a relationship than something that makes logical sense. Just think about how you act in life. Do you make decisions because it's logical? Or do you make decisions because of your relationship, like to your child or to your husband or to your friend? What becomes more important in your decision making? Relationship or your logical, rational deductions? You see? Same with emotions. Do you go after a woman because it's logical to do so? Or do you go after a woman because your heart starts beating and you think she's pretty, so you kind of your hands start getting clammy. Why do you go after the woman? Well, you may not, you may get scared and stay away from the woman when your hand gets clammy, but you want to go after that woman. You know what I'm saying? Um, so, Center for Disease Control doesn't understand human nature because, they're bureaucrats. They think if they tell you that you're going to die from COVID, you're going to stay at home. No, of course, you're going to probably go visit your family because you now know you could die. So that's something that, it's kind of like when you take blood pressure medication, it's supposed to lower your blood pressure. But for some people, side effect is that when you take blood pressure medication, it can increase your blood pressure. And it's called rebound. Side effect is rebound, meaning you take a medication to decrease your heart rate. In certain individuals, not everybody, in certain individuals, the blood pressure, the medicine that you take to lower your heart rate will actually increase the heart rate. Yeah. So it's better not to take the medication. So you have to know how side effects affect people. Because with some people, like blood pressure medication increases blood pressure, for whatever reason. So you cannot take that blood pressure medication. And so that is one of the side effects. So side effects of a medication is your condition can worsen because of the medication. Isn't that weird? But that's true. It's not just with blood pressure medication and heart rate medication. It happens with other medications too. There are medications that are supposed to like decrease your diarrhea, but it could increase it, or decrease your nausea, but it could increase it. Uh, Depending on who you are, what conditions you have, and so it could be one of the side effects, especially for certain medications. That's why this COVID-19 vaccine. Obviously the intention is to protect you from COVID, but the side effect can be, and they haven't vetted it, they haven't researched it enough to know. Um, Side effect could make you more vulnerable to COVID-19. That could be the side effect. That's the problem because the vaccine hasn't been perfected yet. So vaccine makers don't exactly know what the side effects are. Um, and it could be different for different individuals, and it could be different over time. And it could be different for different strains of COVID. And there's like probably hundreds of strains right now. Not all of them have been identified. They're constantly mutating. It's a global pandemic. It's mutating uncontrollably, and it's spreading because people are traveling. Um, so that's why I don't think that any vaccines will work. Because if you can develop a vaccine against one or two strains, there could be hundreds of other strains that are present at the same time. Because like people are traveling, right? People are coming back from college, from Alabama to New York, from South Carolina to New York. So people are bringing different strands of COVID from these areas that are local. So they eventually become national because they spread nationally through travel. And so you can develop a vaccine that works at the lab for one or two strains, and it may work. But in New York, let's say now there's 200 different strains, and they're everywhere because they spread, person to person. So vaccine that protects you against two strains are not going to protect you at the end. You know what I mean? Um, so that's why I don't believe any of the vaccines will work. Obviously, if you take the vaccine, you could suffer the side effects and not have it work, which could be worse. If the side effect is that you become more vulnerable to COVID-19 infection, then obviously it would have been better had you not taken it. So the problem is this: we need to know whether the vaccine has more beneficial impact than negative impact, right? But how are we going to know without actual research? Um, that's the problem, right? No one knows what the side effects are. No one knows if the benefits outweigh the harm. No one knows. And so the first batch of vaccines administered, you're like a lab rat. They'll observe you and then write articles about the side effects. You see what I'm saying? So the first batch of vaccines, no one knows what's going to happen. I mean, worst case scenario is that you become vulnerable, more vulnerable to COVID, certain strains, and then you die with higher probability because of the vaccine. That is the worst case scenario. I mean, obviously there's more worst case scenario than that. Maybe vaccine, there's a certain elements that are deadly that researchers do not fully understand. and then they realize a month or 2 months later that vaccine actually kills certain people or people with certain conditions. And then it's too late because they've given the vaccine. That's the worst case scenario, obviously. But yeah, we don't know what kind of side effects will happen, what kind of negative things will happen with COVID vaccines. So that's it's a scary thought because no one knows. Scientists don't know. And they're just like testing it out on real live people, which is scary. No, you don't think so? What if you get COVID vaccine and you die from it? I mean, you don't think that's scary? Um, yeah. So I mean, I like vaccine. I take flu vaccine every year. I believe in vaccines, but vaccines that's been fully vetted and tested. Not like rushed vaccines. I have a problem with rushed vaccines. Vaccines that don't really work out all the variables. And you can't blame the scientists because COVID is less than a year old, or about a year old. So you can't really blame the scientists. It takes like decades of research to understand the virus. Um, yeah, let's continue on in the article. Quote: if we layer in travel and large indoor gatherings, which we know are drivers of transmission, we expect to see a massive surge on top of an already dire situation. So they're saying we have a surge, but we're going to have a surge on top of that surge. That's what it's saying, right? Said Dr. John Brownstein, Chief Innovation Officer at Boston Children's Hospital, and an ABC News contributor, warning that such a surge could result in a humanitarian crisis. But as I say, there will be a lot of Americans after reading this article, they will go to see their relatives for Thanksgiving because they're realizing now it's really possible they could die, especially people who are like over 60 years old. They're realizing like they could die from COVID. So if they're going to die anyway, Geronimo, I'm going to see my relatives. You know what I mean? So you're going to have a whole slew of Americans who realize that their chance of dying is very high. And that will be the reason why they're going to drive or fly to see their relatives. You're going to see that. And that could be in the millions. Um, because no one wants to die alone, not having seen their loved ones. You know what I mean? That just that's the way people think. If they think they're going to die because they're old, like over 60 years old, then they don't want to die without having seen their relatives. So that's why this Thanksgiving is going to be important in the sense that a lot of people see this as maybe their last chance to see their relatives, their grandchildren, you know, whatever. That's why a lot of Americans are flying and traveling because they know they're going to die. Like let's say someone told you you're going to definitely die in 2 months. What are the things you're going to do? One of the things will be you're going to go and see your relatives. You see what I'm saying? So see it from that perspective. And I think you get an accurate picture of what's going on right now in Thanksgiving travel, why so many Americans are traveling. Um, yeah, because no one wants to die not having seen their loved one, right? If they think they're going to die. And so sometimes giving people warning becomes a catalyst or an encouragement for people to travel and mingle socially with their relatives. See, it's kind of like rebound tenderness, like you take medication in order to treat something, but it makes your situation worse. Like you take medication to decrease your heart rate, but one of the side effects for certain people can be it increases the heart rate. So you gotta stop the medication as soon as possible and then change the medication, right? If that happens. Um, and so, Dr. Fauci or Dr. Brownstein thinks like, oh, if I scare people, saying that there's a higher chance of people getting infected with COVID and dying from COVID, they will not see their relatives. But one of the side effects that they don't understand is that because they said it, because they gave them this quote treatment, they're one of the side effects for some people will be they will see they will that is what pushes them to see their relatives. Do you see what I'm saying? People are, people are unpredictable. What you think will happen don't always happen with people. Like you tell somebody, oh, he's a jerk, blah, blah, blah. And you tell your girlfriend that he's a jerk. And then she listens and she ends up falling in love with him. And you're like, what the hey? What the hey? I told him he's a jerk. I told her he's a jerk. How did she fall in love with him? But a lot of women have seen that happen. What you say doesn't always work the way you think will work. You could badmouth somebody and say negative things about somebody. You think like they'll turn that person like to oppose that person, but they become one of the loyal supporters. And you're like, what the hey? What the hey? That's because people don't always do what you want them to do. People think for themselves. You know, let me give you an example. Let's say you tell somebody that guy's a racist. He hates you know, he hates all the Jews. Let's say that you said this to somebody who's Jewish. But unbeknownst to you, that person has converted to Christianity, and you did not know that. And that person didn't really share with you that like she had converted to Christianity. Personally, she wasn't ready to share that with people. So you're kind of presupposing she's Jewish. So you tell her like, all these things, and then you find out, and so she hears you out, but she's converted to Christianity. She's rejected Judaism. She has decided to abandon Judaism. And then she takes all the things that you say and then becomes his greatest champion. Like she undermines your steps every step of the way, unbeknownst to you. Right? Things happen in history. I'm a historian, so I read about what happened in history, right? I've been researching these kind of things for decades. Um, yeah, people don't always do what you think they would do. That's why I'm 100% sure if there's a conflict between Jews and Christians, Nancy Pelosi will stab every Jewish fan in their back. She'll be the end of all of the Jewish fans. You don't think that will happen? I'm 99% sure that will happen. Because I'm a historian, I see what happens in history. I mean, right now, there isn't technically a conflict between Jews and Christians, but if that happens, and it can happen in America, then Nancy Pelosi will turn her back and stab every one of her Jewish families in the back, destroy them completely. Because, when it becomes an us versus them conflict, now her survival, the survival of all her loved ones, closest loved ones, come into jeopardy. And it doesn't matter what political party she's in. She's gonna be on us, not them. You see what I'm saying? That's the beauty of us versus them conflict, I tell you this, but you may not believe me. I'm like, please don't stress, man. Please don't stress. I'm a historian. I like to see history in action because I read about these things all the time in history. I've been researching this for like decades, and I saw how it worked. So I like to see it happen. It gives me joy to see things like this happen in real life. So I'm happy as a clam. What can I say? I'm happy as a clam. Just Google my name, then you'll see what I'm saying. I'm happy as a clam. I'm happy as a clam. I'm happy as a clam. This is like the best days of my life. That I see history in action. It's actually becoming the way that it happens in history in the past, like again and again. You know what I mean? It's the best thing to see for a historian, that because you have newfound faith in history. You have newfound faith in historical prejudices, historical in-group conflict, out-group conflict, historical processes and legitimacy, conflict, power, or auctoritas, potestas. You see all of these coming true, like what you read about, what you've seen in other civilizations, like dead civilizations. You see it happening in real life. I'm like, whoa, wow, so history does repeat itself. You know what I mean? And it's exciting as a historian to see history repeat itself, or historical patterns reaffirm their patterns. Yeah, it's an exciting moment of my life right now. Just Google my name, you'll see what I'm saying. I'm happy as a clam. I am happy as a clam. Um, the second article, Fauci, my name is Heerak Christian Kim. Type it in, full name Heerak, Strange Christian, Strange Kim. Yeah. Um, yeah. I'm so happy as a kid. Yeah, Dr. Fauci says he's worried about what coronavirus case numbers will be 3 weeks from weeks after Thanksgiving. So this article is by Jason Hanna and Christina McSorley on November 25th, 2020. Um, quote, kind of like the way I quote the Bible, quote, like Romans 1, quote, happy as a clam, happy as a clam. Yeah, Dr. Anthony Fauci's final pre-Thanksgiving plea is to keep any indoor holiday gatherings as small as possible as the country endures record numbers of COVID-19 hospitalizations and daily cases, he told ABC's Good Morning America on Wednesday. What we don't want to see is yet another surge superimposed upon current surge, which we'll realize 3 to 3.5 weeks from now if people aren't careful. Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergies and Infectious Diseases, told ABC. Dr. Fauci, I guarantee you we will have a surge superimposed upon current surge. That's why I'm saying there's going to be minimum 10,000 deaths per day sometime in December. See, Dr. Fauci's coming around to my position, you know? He's stating as like, I fear, blah, blah, blah. You know, fear has nothing to do with it. I'm a historian. I deal with facts. The fact is that's going to happen because the fact is people are going to see their relatives. You see what I'm saying? Dr. Fauci's like, I am afraid, blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't, what we don't want to see is yet another surge superimposed and blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, I say, I have confidence in the prayers of St. Francis, of accept the things, Lord, help me to accept the things that I cannot change. you know, I mean, let go and let God. That's what I say. I believe in Jesus. I have 100% faith in the will of God, the providence of God. And that's why I'm happy as a clown because I know God's in control. Human beings are not in control. You're not in control. God's in control. You know what I'm saying? And that's what gives me confidence. It gives me joy, it gives me peace. Because I know whatever happens, it cannot happen without God's providence. God's in perfect control. And just, you just let go and let God. Yes, of course, 3 weeks from now, we'll have over 10,000 deaths per day. Let go and let God. You know what I'm saying? Happy as a clam. Happy as a clam. Um, and third article, because, if you're truly Christian, when you die, you go to heaven. What's there to worry about, really? I mean, as St. Paul said, to live is Christ, to die is gain. That is not the worst thing that could happen to you. Going to hell is. If you believe in Jesus, when you die, you go to heaven. I mean, geez, heaven is a great place. I mean, obviously, if you commit suicide, you're not going to go to heaven. You're going to go to hell, but because you took your own life. But, if you die through COVID, I mean, you go to heaven. It's a pretty good place to be for eternity, if you're truly Christian. So, yeah, I mean, what do you don't really need to worry that much, really. Go to your Thanksgiving party, have a happy Thanksgiving with your people. I mean, don't go out of your way to be reckless. But we're talking about Thanksgiving. So, if you feel like you want to go to Thanksgiving and Holy Spirit gives you assurance that you want to go to Thanksgiving, then you should go. If the Holy Spirit tells you in your heart, don't go to Thanksgiving, then don't go. Pray about it and you decide after prayer. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I predict a lot of Americans will travel. I predict a lot of Americans will have big Thanksgiving dinners, And, as I said, even if 30 million Americans die, that's only 10% of America. 300 million Americans are not going to die. So um, yeah, I mean, let's say you have 100 million people celebrating Thanksgiving. That you will still won't have majority of Americans alive by June. You know what I mean? Um, Number three, White House Thanksgiving proclamation calls for Americans to gather, even as COVID-19 surges. I love that man. I love Donald Trump. I mean, he should take a strong position against gay marriage and homosexuality because that's the right thing to do. And that could be President Donald Trump's fatal flaw because he's not taking an aggressive and open uh, opposition to gay marriage the way he should. I mean, that could be his fatal flaw. Because that's important to God, obviously, because it's written in Romans chapter 1. But you know, President Trump is a likable guy. I mean, I like him. I really don't like Biden. He's just not likable. You know, um, but President Trump is likable because he understands that people have a need, emotional need, relationship needs. People have need to celebrate Thanksgiving. Would you rather have a president like Joe Biden who says don't celebrate Thanksgiving, or do you want to have a president like Trump who's like celebrate Thanksgiving and enjoy your family? What kind of leader do you want? You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah. So I mean, I agree with President Trump perfectly. If you feel comfortable celebrating Thanksgiving with your family, by all means do so. I mean, I'm not saying be reckless. As you know, I think the city should shut down completely. But Thanksgiving is a special holiday. And you cannot treat special holiday like normal day. Even if you shut down the city completely, uh, special holiday should be given special treatment. That's how I believe. As I said, if am a mayor of a city, I'll shut down the city completely, but I'll open it up for Thanksgiving. I'll open it up for Christmas. Because I think people have emotional needs. People are not robots. So you have to respect the emotional needs, relational needs of human beings. Um, but obviously, I'm a healthcare expert and I don't want people to die from COVID. So you got to weigh, several factors. Like human beings are not robots. They're not objects. They're not slaves. You have to respect human beings and their needs on an emotional and relationship, social, emotional learning, as we say in education. You have to compute social, emotional needs. You can't just treat people like healthcare subjects, right? And so this is why I am the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. I don't treat human beings as like lab rats, right? I respect their social, emotional needs, and that's hard for like Dr. Fauci to do because he sees human beings as like we have to make sure they're healthy, and that's the most important thing. Uh, but human beings being healthy, there's a lot of issues that are involved in, right? Mental health, emotional health, these are all important things. And not allowing people to celebrate major holidays like Christmas or Thanksgiving can do more damage than good, because people's emotional needs, mental health needs, they're all tied to physical health. It's not like, if they're lonely at home in Thanksgiving because they're not allowed to celebrate Thanksgiving with their family. For some people, that could be a serious problem that could cause health problems, actual physical health problems. Physical needs must be met along with social needs, emotional needs. And at Georgetown University, one of the things that I liked at Georgetown, it's a Catholic university, Jesuit university, and they emphasize cura personalis, treating the whole person. And I think that I'm happy that I went to Georgetown and not to another university. I think had I gone to another nursing school where they don't emphasize like treating the whole person, I think I'll be more like Dr. Fauci. But because I went to Georgetown, I understand that people have spiritual needs, that people have emotional needs, that people have relationship needs, and that this must be computed into healthcare treatment complementary and alternative medicine, they emphasize environmental factors as well. You know, uh, and so that's why I'm saying like I think President Trump is better for America and America's long-term health, emotional, mental health, and spiritual health than Joe Biden is. I think Joe Biden is approaching COVID-19 in a simplistic, reductionist way, and human beings are not robots or slaves. You can't treat human beings like that. Yeah, that's why I I don't like Joe Biden personally, but I honestly believe that President Trump is a better leader than Joe Biden is. And President Trump is someone that America needs far more than Joe Biden. That's why I'm hoping President Trump will ultimately prevail and win this election. That's what I'm hoping. Let's see what happens, But my hope is President Trump will continue 4 more years. Um, if we have to choose between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, and so that's where I am right now on November 25th, 2020. You know, um, and this affirms it more. White House Thanksgiving proclamation calls for Americans to gather, even as COVID-19 surges. I mean, did you see how people gathered for Joe Biden? When Joe Biden like pretended like he won. I mean, did you see liberal media like condemning that? This is why I don't believe in liberal media. They just want to attack Donald Trump. And they're so like biased and prejudiced against Donald Trump. It's not even funny. You know what I'm saying? These are biased people, these liberal media. So I mean, obviously, I don't want people to get COVID, but people have needs. They have emotional needs, they have social needs, they have relational needs, and you can't ignore them. So I agree with President Trump 100% that when he is encouraging Americans to gather if they want to, uh, I think that's a good thing, and I think that's what a leader should do. Um, so President Donald Trump's annual Thanksgiving proclamation for America calls for Americans to gather for holiday, even though federal public health officials have explicitly warned against it. As I said, healthcare officials they're not the president for a reason. They don't but they are doing their job, right? Yes, it is true that if people meet, they will get COVID. But as I said, we have to treat this cura personalis. We cannot treat people isolated from their social emotional learning, social emotional background. Um, social emotional uh, well-being is absolutely important. So obviously, yes, we want people to isolate during normal days, but special holidays like someone's birthday or someone's Christmas or Thanksgiving, we're not talking about every day of the year, right? This is like what 3, 4 major holidays in a year, like Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. In those days, it's different, Um, so yeah, I mean, as you know, I called for shutting down Halloween. That's an unnecessary holiday, and we should have banned Halloween parties and trick or treating. Um, that's what I called for in Arlington County, Alexandria Falls, and Fairfax County, because it's an unnecessary holiday. We could ban that. You're supposed to sneeze into your mask like that, so you don't like sneeze in the elevator, like outside of your mask, and people can get COVID if you have it. I mean, I don't have COVID, but you know what I'm saying. Um, but it gets hot in this mask, Um, yeah. So to continue, the final line of the proclamation issued by White House Press Secretary's office Wednesday evening reads, I encourage all Americans to gather in homes and places of worship to offer a prayer and thanks to God for our many blessings. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think that's a good thing. I mean, if you feel comfortable, and Trump is not saying you should do this. President Trump is saying, I'm encouraging you to do this. I have no problem with that. This is a Thanksgiving holiday. and people's lives for the next 6 months will be living hell. Um, so Thanksgiving, people going to church, thank God. I think that's a good thing. You should go to church if you feel comfortable doing that and offer thanks to God. I think that's a good thing. Yeah, do go to church if you can, if you feel comfortable. Um, that's why President Trump is a better president during the global pandemic than Joe Biden is. It's just look at the things that Joe Biden is saying. Do you really want to live in an America where Joe Biden is the president? Do you really want to do that? You have 4 more years of COVID-19. Vaccines are not going to work. 2021 flu season, 1 year from now, will be far worse than the flu season now. So you have 4 more years of this. Do you really want Joe Biden to be your president? I mean, geez, for God's sake. Just think about it. Think about the things he's saying. Compare it with things that Trump says. I mean, you better hope and pray that recounts work and that Trump has 4 more years. You have far more fun under Trump than under Biden. I mean, can you imagine how boring 4 years of America under Biden will be? Oh my gosh, you'll die of boredom, locked away in your home in a lockdown for 4 years. Um, and Biden has no imagination. I mean, how is he going to save our economy? I mean, do you really have confidence in Joe Biden to save our economy? I mean, President Trump has been doing well with the economy, even despite the COVID. You know what I mean? I mean, geez, I don't know why these idiots voted for Biden. It just doesn't make sense. I don't want to call you idiots. I mean, that is kind of mean, but I mean, I feel like you're voting for Biden is an idiotic thing to do because Joe Biden doesn't have any redeeming factors, in my opinion. So it's my view, it's my own opinion, but you're probably saying people who voted for President Trump are idiots. So, I mean, we're the same wavelength, but I'm just trying to persuade you for those who have voted for Biden. What are his redeeming qualities? Why did you vote for him? Do you think he will handle COVID better than Trump? Do you really believe that? Um, do you believe that Joe Biden will improve the economy better than Trump? Do you really believe that? Do you think that your life will be better under Biden for 4 years than Trump for 4 years? I mean, these are questions you have to ask. But, so like from a personal perspective, I feel like the decision to vote for Joe Biden is an unwise one if you made that decision. I mean, you answer that question for yourself. I mean, you do what you want, but I just feel like that's an unwise decision, and I have an emotional reaction to it, as you can see from the words I'm using. Um, and so I'm just sharing my view. You may disagree with me, but yeah, but I think my prediction is that if Joe Biden becomes president and gets sworn in, United States will collapse 100% in the next 4 years of COVID. We're not going to survive as a nation. That's my prediction. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But COVID-19 is going to be here for at least 4 more years. Um, and yeah, it's not going to survive. America's not going to survive under Biden if he is sworn in. So let's hope the recount will work, and then President Trump can continue for the next 4 years. Let's just hope. Keep our fingers crossed. Um, yeah, but anyway, yeah, who knows what God has planned, right? Um, I mean, God did let Israel be completely destroyed as a nation. I mean, Israel stopped existing as a nation. That was God's will. We don't know what God's will is. Um, yeah, I hope God's will is for America to prosper and grow. But who knows what God wants? That's what I want, but maybe that's not what God wants. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, let's hope that God will show mercy because God's not showing mercy to America right now. Yeah, God's definitely not showing mercy. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I repeat what President Trump says. I encourage all Americans to gather in homes and places of worship to offer a prayer of thanks to God for our many blessings. I have no problem with that statement. I think that's the right statement to make. I disagree with the statement that Joe Biden made. I think he's just being a dictator about it. You know, he's like a dictator. If I was a dictator, I'd have to become an actual dictator if he gets sworn in. Yeah, I really don't like Biden personally. And I think I have legitimate reasons for not liking Biden. But yeah, but I mean, I've explained that. I mean, I guess the chief among the reasons why I hate Biden, and I can use the word hate because that's how I feel. I'm not going to lie about it. Is because he supports killing babies. I just don't like people who support killing babies, like innocent babies. I just don't. I mean, that's my personal feeling. Um, it's just you may not like Trump, and you may share that personal feeling. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just I don't think people should have the right to kill babies. That's just how I feel. I think babies' lives are precious, and we should not, end babies' lives before they begin. And that's why I oppose Joe Biden, and I don't like Joe Biden because he thinks that it's okay to kill babies' lives before they're born. I mean, I just don't. I just don't think Joe Biden is a righteous person. I don't think he's an ethical person for believing them, Um, so I have no confidence in Joe Biden's ethical perspectives or decisions. So anybody who thinks that it's okay to kill babies before they're even born, they're certainly not ethical. They're certainly not. They certainly do not have moral compass, right? They don't really have an understanding of what's right and wrong, right? I mean, if you believe that it's good or okay to kill babies before they're born, I mean, certainly your moral compass is, completely messed up. So I have no confidence in Joe Biden. I mean, and so I just hope, I just hope the recounts will show that he lost. That's just, I'm just hoping that. But I hope that you hope that too. Obviously, I hope that you'll agree with me. I understand not everybody's going to agree with me, but I hope that you'll agree with me. But yeah, as you know, I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. I'm running as a conservative against, Don Beyer, who's a Democrat, who kind of sees eye to eye with Joe Biden, I guess. I mean, I don't know if what issues they completely agree with or disagree with. I mean, Don Beyer seems like a nice guy. Obviously, I believe I'll do far better job than he in helping Virginia's 8th District survive and thrive. Um, but I mean, election is 2 years away. Hopefully, you will agree with me and vote for me. But so I'm a conservative. I ran as an independent. There was COVID-19 situation that kind of created a problem with my name being entered on the ballot, and I filed a lawsuit in Arlington Circuit Court about that. But COVID-19 is everywhere, and it's like messing up a lot of processes, including court processes. Um, but my name should have no problem being on the ballot for 2022. We've been at COVID-19 for 2 years now. So yeah, so vote for me. And if Joe Biden becomes president, then obviously I'm going to attack him every day for the next 2 years. I mean, because I'm running against Don Beyer, who probably see eye to eye with Joe Biden. I'm not going to unite with Joe Biden, or you know what I mean. I mean, did you see like people who didn't like Trump unite with Trump for the last 4 years? You know what I mean? Why would I want to unite with Joe Biden? I mean, are you kidding me? I'm running against Don Beyer. I mean, I'm not trying to share his views. If I shared Don Beyer's views, I wouldn't be running against him. You know what I mean? Why would I want to unite with Don Beyer or with Joe Biden? You know, we don't need unity. We need division. I mean, I'm running against Don Beyer because I disagree with him and I oppose him, right? That's what division means. We don't agree, we oppose each other. Division is a good thing. So I hope that you will disagree with Don Beyer and Joe Biden and not unite with them in any way. That's obviously, yes, I have my political ambitions, so I don't want you to unite with Joe Biden because if we have election 2 years from now, if you unite with Joe Biden, you may vote for Tom Bayer. So yes, I do have a political reason why I don't want you to unite with Tom Bayer or Joe Biden. Um, because I think unity is a bad thing in a democracy. I think disagreement is a good thing in a democracy. When different voices are heard, I think that's a good thing in a democracy. So I hope you don't join hands with Joe Biden or unite with Joe Biden because election is coming in 2 years, you know. Um, and I don't think Joe Biden is going to save America in any shape or form. I think he's going to destroy America completely. As I said, if Joe Biden becomes president, uh, after the recounts are done, and hopefully recounts don't go in his way or go in the direction of his favor. But if they do, I mean, I'm predicting complete and total collapse of the United States as a nation within 4 years. That's how much confidence I have in Joe Biden. That is to say, I have no confidence, zero confidence in Joe Biden. So you can bet I'm going to oppose Joe Biden for the next 4 years. Um, Yeah, I mean, I hope all of you will oppose Joe Biden too, um, because I think he's just a bad choice, um, for president. I mean, if I thought Joe Biden would make good president, I'll tell you. If I thought Joe Biden would make America better, I'll tell you. I just don't believe that. I think Joe Biden will make America far worse. Um, and as I'm saying, I believe that Joe Biden will destroy America completely in the next 4 years. I know that people who hate Trump try, said that every day of last 4 years. So that may color why you know Trump supporters oppose Joe Biden, right? And they want to oppose Joe Biden for the next 4 years. I mean, even people who don't support Trump, like Republicans who hated Trump, they're probably going to oppose Joe Biden. I mean, let's say somebody like Greg Abbott becomes president of the United States 4 years from now, or Mike Pence becomes president 4 years from now. But Mike Pence likes Donald Trump. I'm trying to think of a Republican who hates Donald Trump who may become president. So let's say somebody who hates Donald Trump 4 years from now becomes president. I'm sure he doesn't want Republican voters to unite with Joe Biden because they'll reduce his chance of winning in 4 years. And election for presidential campaign kicks off. If even whether President Trump becomes president or not, you know, uh, in 2024, and whether President Trump continues for 4 years or not, there will be an election for president in 2024. So campaigns will kind of kick off, uh, whether President Trump continues or not for 2024. So I'm sure no Republican who wants to be president wants unity to happen because that could ensure that he doesn't win in 2024. Yes, I mean, obviously, unity is against the interest of every Republican politician, right? Because there's an election 2 years from now. But, you wouldn't want unity, you know. But that's why democracy works, because people disagree, and people get to choose. Like if everybody agreed, if everybody agreed in politics, then you don't have a choice, right? You're voting for the same people. So in party politics, division is good. Um, in democracy, division is good. So I encourage all of you um, to embrace the divisiveness. It's a good thing. Democracy, it keeps democracy alive. Yeah, unity is a bad thing in democracy. um, Thanks for tuning in today. As you know, this is a daily show. So, I hope to bring you content that's going to help you survive COVID-19. And as you know, I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th district, and I care deeply about America. I want to make America great again and safe again. And I care about you, obviously. I believe that I will be better leader for Virginia's 8th district than I'm buying. That's why I'm running. Um, and so I'm in a sense looking out for your interest. We have differences, Tom Byer's voice and my voice, but that's what makes democracy work, right? Um, you have choices, and then you get to decide what you want for yourself, in your interest. So division is good, differences is good. Um, yeah. Anyway, but primary goal of this show is to help you and your family survive COVID. So I'm going to provide you with helpful information for you to do that. Um, yeah. So tune in tomorrow again to this show, and you will find information that disagree with the liberal media, will provide you with accurate information that will help you survive COVID-19. Um, as I said, we're in this for next 4 years minimum, probably more like next 10 years. And next year's flu season will be far worse than this year's flu season. Um, and as I said, up to 2.4 billion people can die in the next 10 years in the world from COVID. Um, think about it. If this goes continuously for 365 days a year for the next 10 years with no vaccine working, you don't think 2.4 billion people in the world can die? Of course they can. Of course they can. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just logical sense. Uh, yeah, because there will be exponential growth. It'll be spread everywhere. Um, and you could get COVID-19 again and again every year. So people who didn't die from it could die next year, you know. Um, yeah, so I mean, 2.4 billion people dying, and that's definitely possible in 10-year period. Um, yeah, I hope that your family will be well, and you'll be well, and then your children will be well. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And I'll bring you like a lot of helpful information for you. So I know tomorrow's Thanksgiving, but I hope that you will tune in as well. See you tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Turkey Day. Bye.